DIY.
DIYers, a few days ago, we did a reaction to Timbaland putting out a PR announcement that he's going to be working with an AI artist or signing an AI artist called Tata. As for many of us, it left us confused as to how do you sign something that is an algorithm? How do you sign an AI artist if they're not even really a human being? What does that look like? Well, as people were giving it much needed backlash, instead of explaining it, one of the first moves that he made was to jump in some people's comment sections and respond to them there, and to release this video right here, which I still feel like is disrespectful up and down. He hashtags the company that he's been working with for this signing of Tata Stage Zero. And here was his response to all the backlash from people like myself and others that are creating music and respect the craft. Here's what he had to say.
AI is ruining music. Whatever. Go ahead and cry me a river, since Timbo Stamp is on that too.
Yeah, so he uses AI animals to echo, I guess, his talking points. That's what we're getting here.
Crying about AI taking your spot, but your songs barely mix. Why would we train it on that?
His response to the fair backlash from independent artists who have been submitting their music, paying to submit their music to him over the years. His response is, why would I use your shit and ain't even mixed? If you didn't know, for the last few years, he's been doing sort of a music review series. And he'll spend hours and hours and hours, I believe, on TikTok giving feedback, mostly telling artists that, oh man, this is trash, and oh man, you need to learn how to mix. But there are some artists who do wow him, and then they share those clips and then kind of go from there. But for this to be your first response, I think it's so trash. It's so disrespectful. It's what I've heard the term in those sleazy dating circles is as negging, right? You say something disrespectful in hopes that this person will grovel at your feet and respect whatever you got to say about them, right? But that's what he says. Why would I want to use your music if it's mixed badly? Continue.
Man, y'all scared of AI, but record every hook in Melodyne.
Auto-tune is AI, baby.
He think you stupid. Stick and Timbaland think you stupid. Whoever sat here with this script think you stupid. There's a difference between auto-tune, which is correcting what is being channeled through it, and the intelligence that goes into that, versus generative AI, which is using sources of other things to create other things without crediting the original thing. This is not Melodyne. This is not auto-tune. But the fact that he would put this up here as an argument without explaining it to anybody, it's disingenuous as the very least.
Y'all just didn't complain till it started writing better hooks than you. Timbo ain't the villain. He just not babysitting y'all no more. You want
babysitting? To the grown men and grown women that are out here submitting your music to him, he's babysitting y'all? That's the person you want to trust has your best intentions in hand? He babysitting y'all. Oh, that's y'all daddy, huh? Nigga ain't my daddy.
opportunity but ain't got output.
You worried about AI stealing your sound? Bro, you ain't got one.
Wow. So that's the response that he chose to go with first. Not the people who have bought into Beat Club, not the people who have been coming to his defense, not the independent artists who are looking at him as, damn, I can't believe he's down here with us with the common folk. You don't got to say something fair to them first. You put this shit out first? Nah. You don't got a sound. Your shit ain't mixed. That goes for everybody, Tim? That's weak, bro.
Who am I kidding? I ain't had no bars to begin with.
AI.
Interesting. Anybody talk to me like that, I don't think you got any kind of respect for me. Anybody talk to me like that, you're not going to get a call. You're not going to get me invested in your shit. I ain't sending music to your shit. You've already made it known that being the legend that you are, we all tip our hats. You've changed the sound of music multiple times. There is no debate about your legendary status 30 plus years in this game. However, it does not give you a right to talk shit, to talk down to independent artists like that. I see something like this, I don't feel threatened, but I know that there's a lot of impressionable kids who look up to you and are taking that as, well, what do I do then? It feels like this is delivered by someone who doesn't like people, but wants to convince people that are consumers to embrace AI that replaces people. You heard me.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's trash. That's trash. But he's not the only one pushing these particular narratives that I don't know if it's them not understanding what they're saying and they're kind of repeating what the tech guys are telling them. But there's some weird shit going on here. And unfortunately, someone that we've quoted here before, we reacted to video content from, Ray Daniels, added his input in defense of Timbaland. Here's what he had to say about what he feels like people aren't getting. And I think some of the things he says are a bit telling than others.
Yo, in today's news of artists are never satisfied. Artists are never happy. This is why executives, producers, stuff.
By the way, if you don't know, he's a well-respected executive within the music industry, somebody that a lot of folks that you're fans of co-sign and say that he has their best interest in hand. He's been a part of so many records that have broken records. He's the guy that people go to and they always have the utmost of respect for. But this is what he had to say.
That nature don't work with artists. First of all, the Timbaland, who has super producer, who has, I see, helping as many artists as he can, decides he's going to play in the AI world, which, why the fuck wouldn't you? Like, let me tell you what an AI thing is. Let me tell you what an AI character is. Mickey Mouse is an AI character.
Mickey Mouse is an AI character. So who the fuck is Walt Disney? Who were the cartoonists that were? He hasn't quite got to the point. Who the fuck is Walt Disney? Continue.
Donald Duck is an AI character. Bugs Bunny is an AI character. You guys are looking at it wrong. He's going to make a character that he can have sing songs and things of that nature, sell products. That's all these cartoonists and all these young kids TV shows are doing anyway. So why y'all mad at him? Plus, do you know how hard it is to push an artist?
Bingo. 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 Bingo, 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 bingo. Ignore that nonsense about Donald Duck and Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. Bingo, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. There it is, as Viral B said. There it is. It's getting harder to push an artist. Earlier in this conversation, he also said something about the issues that executives and A&Rs deal with when working with artists. There's a problem with artists. There's a problem with communication. There's a problem with pushing an artist. We're getting closer. What else is it?
They gonna tell you, I don't wanna do that. Jimmy Iovine famously told me one day, get you something that don't talk back.
I'm sorry. Get you something that doesn't talk back. Sounds like something that's better suited, not for a music industry book, but for something a pimp might say to a whore.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Get you something that doesn't talk back but makes you money. I predicted this years ago, and some of you remember it. They've been looking for the perfect machine to replace artists in that industry. That industry was never quite made to be for human beings. They get an artist, they work them like a machine. They pay them as close as they can or very little to a machine. They tell them how to wear, what to wear, how to present themselves, how to talk. That's PR training. When shit goes bad in their lives, they tell them to suck it up and get back to work. We saw that we were reacting to TLC and the things that they were going to after Left Eye passed away. They work you to the bone like a machine. They want you to put your feelings off to the side and work like a machine. That's why AI is such a perfect partner for them, because they can finally work the machine the way they've been trying to work people. One more time.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell
I don't even know why this is relative, but
I don't know how to hog tie people. What would I hog tie?
get you something that doesn't talk back. Oh, you guys are saying the quiet part out loud, and I hope the artists are listening. How could you pursue this industry knowing this?
What is better than an AI artist that don't talk back and we're still mad at him? Somebody just called me like, what you think about what Timbaland did? Ain't it vulturist? I'm like, isn't he a culture vulture? I'm like, no, it's genius. Like,
I'm not gonna speak on Ray Daniel because I don't know him like that, and I want to have all the due respect for people that I don't know you. I don't know him, but I can tell you is this from my experience of being in and out of the music industry, especially the last few days where I've had the opportunity to rub shoulders again with some of the folks. Some people go in this industry, they get game, they get privilege, and they become the executive or the entrepreneur that somebody couldn't be for them, meaning that they learn how to get in position so they can treat people better than how they were treated. Some of them learn from the greatest slave masters in music how to become better slave masters, except they just so happen to have the same skin tone as the artist that they're trying to sign, the artist they're trying to bring in. They end up sometimes being artists who get done dirty in their deals, end up giving the dirtiest deal to somebody from their neighborhood because they got gamed up from somebody else in there. What I'm seeing here is the same issue, the same reason why I pushed away from the music industry, because I said it doesn't make any sense for somebody with intelligence to be in this space knowing how crooked this shit is. But I can't speak in absolutes about something like this because there are some really amazing human beings that I've met, one of those being Young Guru. I don't know if you could see this comment that Young Guru just said here. He told Ray Daniels, he said, "You are completely wrong. I love you, though. Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny are not AI. They are someone's imagination come to life and put on the highest level. Someone has to sit and create. Better than someone has to sit and create, someone wanted to sit and create this." I don't like the direction this conversation's going, especially when we know the video that popped up about the Suno CEO saying, well, the reason why my product Suno exists, where you can basically take text and prompt it into music, the reason why it exists is because music is not inherently enjoyable to make. Someone who doesn't make music is wanting you to understand or wanting you to embrace the idea that making music is not enjoyable, even for you. For the person that learned it all, he literally said he solved the problem of music not being enjoyable. If it's not enjoyable for you, put it down and go get a fucking job that is enjoyable for you. You know what? Putting on a helmet and shoulder pads and them tight ass pants and tackling people, that's not something I want to do. But you know what? I don't need AI to give me that experience. For somebody who wants to, you go through the proper steps because that's your passion. With that said, it's so dope to hear other creatives. And shout out to Sarah. If you don't know Sarah Too Ill, you got to check out Sarah. Really amazing producer. There were some things said here that I think is going to bring to light how a lot of us are feeling as creatives. And I want to let Sarah say that for right here. Check it out.
What's up, Tim? Thanks for the invite to your live stream to chat. I'm gonna have to decline.
Hello. I don't know if Sarah's an 80 baby, but we different. I don't know if Sarah's an 80 baby, but these 80 babies is different. We gonna be a problem. I'm for sure an 80s baby. We gonna be different. Now, if you didn't know, Timbaland left a comment on one of her posts being critical of what he's doing. He said, "Let's have a convo. Going live Saturday. Need you there." Sarah said, "Fuck all that. I still got questions about whether the music that I've submitted off has been a part of the machine learning that is now in question. I'm glad you and Suno are having such a great marriage Am I a part of that? Here's what she said after that.
I think it's too late. You know, I think you've made your decision. You said that you didn't use people's music to make your AI. So only time will tell. I do feel like this could be a distraction, rage bait, some type of attention thing to get away from something else, maybe, potentially, I don't know. But I do know that there's something that happened this week that we're not talking about. We're talking about this. So I'd rather talk about that real quick. Okay. The Living Wage for Musicians Act. It's a real bill that would pay independent artists for more streaming. New York City even just endorsed it. This means 1 cent per stream, a new royalty fund, a real income for people like us, producers, session musicians, singers, indie artists. It would have been really dope if you would have actually talked about this versus signing an AI artist. We can't.
Hello. You hear that? Hear that? I don't know if you guys get okay. Hello. Isn't it so convenient that in the midst of the living wage or the Living Wage for Musicians Act, as it starts to gain momentum in New York City, in the same week that New York City says we're all for it, let's get it to the president, let's get it to Congress, let's get them to sign that, this story comes and upstages that. That don't seem suspicious to you? Well, why would this have anything to do with that? In my opinion, if artists start getting paid what they're supposed to be getting paid or closer to it, we'll get more music from human beings. They don't want more music from human beings because that means you got to go do business with human beings, because a lot of artists are not making enough money in the music. They have to get into acting. They have to get into other products. They have to build other funnels. They have to do other things outside of that, which we're going to talk about. But if you pay them more, you'll get a shit ton more music. And there's already a lot of music. But all of a sudden, this announcement comes up, and I feel like it's meant to slow down the conversation around that. That's why channels like this exist. I got to make sure we bring this to the forefront because these are all very fair questions and observations.
An AI. It's not a person. It's not a legal entity. Look into the Living Wage for Musicians Act, y'all.
We get a full video on it. Shout out to Sarah one more time, Sarah. It take a lot, man. It take a lot to tell folks that might have been heroes to you coming up. It take a lot to tell them, nah, I'm good, champ. It take a lot. You got to tell Diddy no. It take a lot to tell your heroes, nah, ethically, I can't stand on the side of that. Shout out to Young Guru, who also asked a lot of the tough questions coming up. There's 2 videos here, and I think I actually want to let them cook up for the first half here, and then this one, I definitely want to react to the whole thing. If you haven't by now and you're enjoying the content and the conversation, make sure. Hey, yo, DIYer, if you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this video and this channel get discovered by new people. I appreciate you. Now back to the video. Let's get this to as many independent artists as possible, because my goal here is not to create an environment of fear, an environment that rushes you to sign shit you should not, that rushes you to hand over your music because it's already it's hard. I feel like this is streaming 2.0. As much as I like to use AI as an assistant via through a Canva or a Chat GPT, I love to use it as an assistant, but never to replace the professionals, never to replace our ability to trade thoughts and energy back and forth, because we're going to come up with ideas that don't even make any sense. Sometimes Chat GPT can be too on the nose. It's not wrong. It's doing its job, but it's too on the nose. And that's the beauty of collaboration. We'll do things that are illogical as human beings, with no explanation and no understanding of how we got here. With that said, though, let's go ahead and check this out. There's 2 different parts here. It's a Vibe posted this up. This is actually from his actual live stream. He did a 4-hour live stream in which he heard all the complaints after that video, which I still think that video is horrendous and shouldn't be up anywhere. He listened to people, and this is what he had to say in response to it.
Of saying, okay, we've listened to this thing for 3 or 4 months on radio. You remember that point where everybody was copying you?
They
I'm talking
still,
about
they still,
everybody.
they still do, man.
Everybody, right? We got tired of it, and Tim moved.
Hey, respectfully, Tim, I don't think nobody copying Tim in 2025.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Respectfully, as someone who has seen you make some of the most mind-blowing shit on earth in the 90s and late 2000s, 90s and early 2000s, I'm not searching for no sample-based Timbaland beat that sounded like the shit you did on Rhythm Roulette, my brother. With all due respect, nah. The time has shifted. There are other producers who have stepped into that role. This is a different time. Them comments will let you know. I listened to that and couldn't believe it. This ain't the same producer that I go to bat for. Maybe he was just uninspired. And then I would hear other clips that are popping up on your social media, and I'm like, is this what happens when you don't have the collaborative energy? And I don't know if you're still working with a Danger Hands or a Sound Oracle. Is this what happens when it's just you? Because then that changes the perspective that somebody may have as a fan and practitioner in this. It's okay. Even the legends at some point in time in hip hop get replaced or they get outdated if they're not able to readjust. Some of these time signatures, some of these time styles are a little bit different than what worked before. I would feel like the only people copying him now are people who are of that era and still trying to capture what he did in the early 2000s, late 1990s. But that's merely my opinion now as a fan, first and foremost.
Moved on. So after we get out of that phase, we get to a Justin Timberlake phase. Okay, now y'all copying the Justin Timberlake phase. And then we could go on and on. But what we trying to do is make sure that the human emotion is still in it. To make sure that we still get to represent who we are from learning and being older. Like a Jay-Z at whatever, 28 years old or 27 on A Reasonable Doubt is different than a Jay-Z on a 444.
Hello.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Thank God for maturity. Thank God for time. Thank God for the errors that Jay-Z made that changed his perspective from let me make another quintessential album in line with a blueprint and say, you know what? Let me do something that doesn't make any sense for any rapper, and it has to be me because I went through these things in a 444. Thank God for maturity. Yes, AI can listen to what you did between 96 and 2003 and give you its best version of what that is, and it's pretty damn close. But what happens when Reasonable Doubt doesn't apply to me at 40? What happens if we stop creating stories at 40 and 50? What happens when we stop doing that? Because we found something that can keep us in a box where we were great, but in other ways we got greater. It's a great point.
But if I would have left it up to AI and y'all only had Reasonable Doubt, you would have never got to 444.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
I think we're leaving out the taste factor.
Exactly.
And also,
I mean, to be honest with you, man, it's like it was I think regardless of what I was trying to make, it was my taste of what I was hearing in my head.
Did you see that in my post? I said, yo, bro, you leaving out your impeccable taste. Your taste
you gotta understand, I did that shit with spoons. Cause my mom couldn't afford a keyboard. I couldn't afford stuff, but it was my taste. So no matter what I'd use, I was gonna get the best because it was in me. That's what God gave me.
Tool is.
No matter what the tool is, I know how to play.
But hold on though. Hold on. So if you still gotta know how to use the tool, the training of using the tool is still part of what makes you make what you make. Even the restriction of the tool.
Even the errors in the tool. How about that?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Every time I hear somebody talking about how great AI is going to be, you know the one thing that I'm hearing missing from this? What about the errors that created legendary moments? What about the errors that for whatever particular reason? I listened one time to Rick Rubin talk about System of a Down when they did Chop Suey, and he was trying to think of the bridge. He told him to pick up the Bible and look for a page and then add that to it. How do you duplicate that experience in AI? That's the power of human beings. That's the power of creativity. Those moments are the moments that get lost upon because you need a new toy to make sure that you forever are cemented in this game. I don't see this no longer as Tim embracing the AI. I think that's one level of it. I look at this as, if you're a traditional record producer in the generation of a Timbaland, you are used to people working for you and bringing elements to your sound that makes it sound so amazing. One person couldn't create it, right? You are the traditional record producer. The people adding to that sound, they would call for hire musicians, studio musicians, or they would just call you a beat maker, right? Because you only make the drums. Now, instead of using these younger musicians, what if the world could be my beat maker? This is when it sounds like you're playing record producer God to some other people. Then it starts to feel a bit demonic. We're going to talk about that because I understand what that gentleman was talking about, an independent artist who jumped in this live stream later. Let's go back to this other clip. Young Guru makes Timbaland address whether his AI is being trained off of the music of new independent artists he encounters and works with. Right? Because if we keep hearing about how much of an issue it is by people who support Timbaland to deal with human beings, we're under the assumption on some level he feels the same way because of how much he's embracing it and the lack of people that go into the collaborative experience. Here's what he had to say about that particular issue.
Right. That's the biggest question that I've seen, where what the perception was like, yo, Tim is giving a lot of opportunity to young boys, even my young boys from Delaware. Some of them that I mentor, they came on the show, and that was the number one question that I seen. They was like, "Yo, are you training AI off of our music?"
Hello.
Okay. Can you address that one first?
Okay. First of all, I can't train. I don't own the company to do the training data. Now, what I do, I am a partner of Suno. Some people don't like Suno, and some people do. I use Suno for a tool. So as I was with them building on this tool, there are a lot of, as you build, I uploaded all my beats, how I use it as a producer tool, like a sampler, right? Mm-hmm. So it gives you personas. And what I did, I started learning more and more how to become a prompt operator.
Why don't people like Suno? I give you one reason why they don't like Suno. Because not even last year, when Suno was generating things like BBL Drizzy, and people were like, damn, this is such a crazy tool. Where are they getting all these soul samples from? Like, how are they putting this all together? Who are they borrowing the elements of? People said they're stealing it from master recordings of songs that they didn't get the permission to do it for. They said, no, we're not. It's an algorithm that we put together. That was a lie. Yeah, matter of fact, they had to wait until they got into court to where they finally, them in Udio, as Suno and Udio finally admit training AI with unlicensed music. That's one of the reasons we don't like them. They've already admitted that they went the illegal way. Do you get that if any of us tried to pull this shit off, we'd be in jail? You get that if any of us tried to pull this off using unlicensed music, especially as minority business owners, do you understand that as black and brown? You know how quickly they'd have took our asses off of here? There wouldn't have been no opportunity to strike no deal. And the record industry says there's nothing fair about stealing an artist's life work. That's why people don't trust this company. Because even though Timbo just said, you know what, I don't have the capability. And let's take it at a face value. Let's say he doesn't have the capability. What's stopping Suno from accessing what he does upload? What's stopping Suno from inputting these live streams directly into their algorithm? Like, we're not stupid. So he says, oh, I don't have, it's out of my hands. So if it happens, I mean, it might have been somebody else. That's the problem. Can you reassure with confidence that the same company that just admitted to stealing ain't stealing again? That's the problem. That's one of the problems. I ain't gonna play that clip of the CEO saying how music is not an enjoyable experience, and this is why one of the reasons his product exists.
Mm-hmm. So I never trained off of you can't train it. You have to it has to learn you. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn how to prompt to get the best product out of this tool. So it's not about training it. It's about you learning how to work with it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Learning code, learning like, okay, if I say, yo, I call it Baby Timbo. So if I say Baby Timbo, I need my 808 to hit a little harder. I ain't make it hit harder. The one that, like, now remind you, I'm giving it original Timbo beats. So it's not like I'm using it to generate how, I call that the karaoke side, right? I call that like, you know, mom and whatever. But I give it all my, cause you know, Guru, I got drives and drives of music. That's number one.
He has drives and drives of music that are no longer on the radios like it once was. With all due respect, he has drives and drives of music of a sound that is no longer as prevalent and relevant as it once was. It may be shit that wows a lot of producers like us who have been fans of his, but there's a reason all this energy is going here and not to new records that we hear on the radio, because that time has passed. There are tight beat producers that artists would rather go to and pay them the exclusive price than pay him $500,000 for the price he used to have. I don't know if it's more than that or whatever the case. They'd rather go to that person who can emulate the elements that they like the most. They'd rather go there. Me seeing that and seeing people like Hit Boy who have talked about it makes me feel like, is this a way for industry producers to get back? Oh, you type beat producers want to do it? I know the way to get y'all up out of pocket. Let's make something, let's build up something that has the ability to spew out a tight beat better than anything you could ever produce, because it's following the same songs that you're studying. Interesting. Now says you can't train it. This is what Timbaland said 10 seconds later. So I'm feeding it drives and drives of my music. Tim really thinks people are idiots. Yeah, that's how I read that. What the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we really doing? You don't really train it, but I feed it my music to do what? To be a better Baby Tim. Like, it's condescending, it's disrespectful to people who have the utmost respect for him and what he does, but at the same time, it makes you look at this and realize, like, you're creating a monster that even if it works out well for you in the next 10 to 20 years, by the time it has the repercussions to change jobs for songwriters, for demo writers, for in-studio musicians, you'll already be out of pocket. Ain't gonna deal with you. You ain't got to worry about it. Your family will be taken care of because you're getting a whole lot of checks, according to you, right? I think they said he sold Verses, which they have some issues going back in court, for $28 million. He'll be good. But yet there'll be DIYers and independent artists of the future who have to deal with the repercussions of this. This feels like streaming 2.0, but even worse.
So I give it my beats that's like, oh, I can reimagine my beats. But in order to reimagine, you have to learn how to prompt. And I'm like, yo, this text to music is going to be a new wave. But it was aggravating to me because I said, yo, this ain't music. This ain't blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, yo, this is a way to get inspired and never be blocked.
And let's
a way to get inspired and never get blocked. So it's a way to be less human.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
A way to get inspired and never get blocked. Timbo's the same person that was quoted in that article, the one on Hip Hop DX that we covered, where he first announced this AI artist, is saying, now ideas that used to take me 2 months only take me a matter of hours. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a psychologist, but the way that I read this is someone does not enjoy the music making process. They don't enjoy working with people in quite the same way that they once did. Maybe it's for some real reasons, because people feel like maybe they have taken advantage of it, been moved on. But Lord, oh my goodness, I look at this and I'm like, there's no other way to read this. You have a lack of respect for the people that are going to, you're not opening up doors, you're closing it, so you'll be the last one to walk through them. That's the problem I have with that.
Pause there, Tim. Like, so one of the things that I wanted to explain to people, right? Like, we wanted to make sure, this is me as a professor, as a teacher, you know, I'm over there, Jay gave me the green light, and we over there with LIU, with the university, right? So it's us teaching musicians, not only just regular music or how to play, but the business and all of it. So one of the things that I'm big on is not giving a fourth grader a calculator.
Hello.
Right? I want you to learn how to add first. So I think one of the things that people are skipping over is that you put in your hours of learning your craft.
Yes.
Right? And I also, it's big for me where I'm like, certain people will have opinions that maybe have one song, never have done anything, where it's just like, no, Tim has put in his hours. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear, because that was one of the things that was bugging me out, because I'm like, Tim, and I think I put that, one of the things I said was I let off with love, right? But I also was like, I have kids that worship you. When I say worship, it's like a worship. They like, Tim was who raised me. And I want to make sure that the kids don't have a calculator before they learn how to add.
Thank you. Tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it. Thank you, Young Guru. Thank you for saying that. The struggle is a part of the process. The struggle, the funniest part about this is, if Timbaland started today and took the route that he's suggesting, right, or presenting as innovative in the future of production, he doesn't become the Timbaland that he is today. That Timbaland, according to his own words, is off the strength of hard work, off the strength of learning the music, learning the products, learning the software, right? Learning rhythms and learning how to utilize different samples, knowing how to collaborate with people, knowing who to pick to bring into there. That's why Timbaland is the person that we're even reacting to today. The next product of this, who is going down this route, it's impossible for them to be that, because they're always at the mercy of their new god, AI, generating the struggle for them, generating pain for them, generating their character to the point where it's like, what exactly did you contribute? Because when you get to a point where, and I don't want to get too deep, but once you get into the point where it is sentient and it's all able to think for itself, it's going to conduct a better prompt than we could ever give it. What are we doing? What exactly are we doing? Why are we making it so where the struggle of making music is not an embraced pain? It's not an embraced situation. That's what makes you who you are. It's like the T-ball, it's like the participation trophy is making its way to an art form that people work years and years to master. But that's what's being pushed. I love that point that our guru makes, because yeah, you don't want to give a calculator to a kid, because how do they develop? First, you don't give them a calculator before they learn how to add, because how do they develop their critical thinking skills? What are they going to do when a calculator is not around them? Their phone dies. What are you going to do then? And it's a life or death situation. You should have the ability to make these decisions without this, but maybe that's just the old man speaking, and I'll put myself in that old man category. I don't mind. Here's where it got a little bit spicy. So these are obviously very respectable voices that respect each other. They got love for each other because they know each other. I only feel like I've gotten to know Young Guru. Young Guru's been stand up. I got nothing but love. If he comes to me with information, I have such an open ear to it, because in every sense of the word, that man is a revolutionary. He is that. So with that said, I'm all ears to Guru. All the rest of this, I don't know these people. This artist says something I thought that was really, really interesting. He goes flat out and says, I think that what's being done here with AI artists is demonic. What do you mean? I wish I got the artist's name, but I cannot see it here.
Go to the chat, baby.
What's up? Hey, respect to everybody here. Hey,
John, I respect you, bro. I respect. Hey, look, the reason I brought you here,
because your post is crazy.
No, no, no. He didn't. We got
it. I mean it.
We got it. All right, we're gonna stand on it in this chat.
I mean everything about it, bro. I'm not double backing on it. Respect.
Is it John?
To your legacy, I would say.
Shout out to the independent artist John. I'm not sure what his artist name is, but shout out to John.
I view this as right now is a betrayal to artists everywhere, bro. What you're doing is you're backdooring us. You got to a position of power, and instead of choosing to unionize and fight against this AI, which I'm not stupid. I use ChatGPT to script out screenplays, things like that. I use ChatGPT on a daily to think of content ideas, to do the menial task, the meaningless task that a robot should do. I'm a spiritual person, and I believe that artists all are tapped into a divine entity, right? When you go and you start creating and you allow some fucking robot to come in and finish your song, you're cutting yourself off from the divine. And let me not even get
shout out to you. Appreciate that, family.
That deep with it. What I think you're doing is you're doing something that's, in a sense, demonic, bro. And I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but it feels demonic. You're choosing to go against us all and put this robot, instead of signing an artist, instead of having someone who has a voice that you could put on and put on your platform. All these motherfuckers you had on the live, all this cool shit you were doing, you choose to go in this direction.
John, didn't you just hear what I just did over there? I do that, John.
Hey, John.
And then you going by headlines, and I ain't do nothing. I ain't show you nothing. No, you going by headline. I ain't say nothing. That's why we up here. John, you ain't seen, you saw a picture.
Which makes this even more destructive to me. You are who you are, and you know that what you're going to say is going to have a ripple effect because of your reputation and the legend that you are. To choose to put this press release out with no music, no explanation, to let people use their obvious passion for this art, for you to use that anger as a way to get people to come in by the droves to listen to what you have, to me is a crazy decision to make in the same week that you could have put that energy around the Living Wage for Artists Act, the Living Wage for Musicians Act. How about we take care of what we got inside the house first? How about we secure the gates first before we start figuring out how to build more levels on it? Why don't we secure what we already have? Why don't we make sure that the musicians will even be here financially to support themselves before we start talking about embracing some of these sexy tools that can make the creative process easier for some? Why don't we secure the things that should have been secured back when streaming started off? So instead, we're figuring out how to be consumers of the thing that is one day going to replace us? That's where you put your focus at, and then you choose to be purposely broad and in general, hoping that it gets people all tied. This feels like you playing with people's emotions, and I just don't think people play with people's emotions like this unless they do not like people. You like your people, but this seems to be the way that all that nagging that was going on in that first video and this, you don't like people, bro. It's unfortunate.
Correct? You ain't hear no music. You ain't hear me play nothing. You ain't hear me. You don't even know what I'm building. You just went off because you don't like, you thinking I'm doing something with AI and you just upset. But you never asked me. You never asked me. Think about it, John. You know you're wrong. You never had a conversation with me. You just went off of a title. Everybody did.
Who posted it though? Who posted it?
Yeah, a guy, interviews, they're going to make it look like something.
Don't buy that shit for a second. I'm sorry. Maybe this is taboo to do this. I'm sorry. There ain't no way in hell you let someone misconstrue what you send off in a press release when some of these damn websites don't even use writers anymore. Some of these websites use AI generated articles and a fake name. They are giving you what you gave them in the press release that says it's okay to post this picture of Tata and it's okay to put this, like, we're not stupid. We're not stupid. You're saying that it was misconstrued by these websites and that's what make people get crazy. No, it's you purposely putting that out there knowing it would get misconstrued, and it's causing us to have conversation and controversy. Hey, mission accomplished. We're talking about it.
We already knew this. We knew, but the conversation was to get this conversation of talking about AI. We're talking about something that people are not having a conversation about, and it's going to leave us left behind if we don't figure out a solution.
Oh, I forgot about this. Are we also forgetting that he posted the article on his Insta? Or did AI do that? Did Suno hack your account and put that screenshot up? Was that baby Timbo that did that? Jumped on your Instagram? You got to train that AI better. What?
That's all I'm saying. I don't have an AI. How can I have an AI artist, John? It's nothing there.
So this is rage.
This remind me of Chappelle's kid. How can I hog tie people?
I don't know how to hog tie people.
Why would I sign an AI artist? Even though I put it in the time, I put it in the headline. Why would I sign an AI? How can I do that? That's the information we were looking to you for. How can I do that? I ain't never hog tie nobody. Head ass.
Bait, bro.
No, it's not rage bait. No, I took something. I'm explaining what I did to make me come up with this idea. Because
brothers, this is what we're gonna do.
No, I don't think John is upset. Are you upset? Or you just talking?
I'm not upset.
I'm upset. I am. And someone else here who I think did it so well. It's you know what? Look, even at times where I didn't want to admit it in relationships, sometimes in these discussions there's too many dudes involved, and we just go over the top of each other's heads. And sometimes you need a woman's voice to come into the middle and say, here's what I'm hearing from both sides. Here's another way to look at it. Shout out to Jane Lee, who she calls herself, what does she call herself? I think the indie mama. She's someone who's an advocate for independent artists. I think she broke this down. It was a great part of the live stream that I wanted to make sure I highlight. Here's what she had to say in reaction to some of these conversations.
It's not even about the money. It's about the fact that we're conditioned to not value ourselves or our music. And we're so comfortable living in this area where we're just doing what we're told. And then we have to think of other ways, like building pipelines, like selling merch and building worlds and doing all of this other stuff. We can't fight for ourselves and look, I started piano when I was 2.5 years old. By the age of 9, I was practicing 6 hours a day to play a Bach fugue.
Hello.
And I went on that stage and I did that. And to this day, I'm 44 years old. I have put in 30,000, 40,000 hours to perfect my craft. And here we are like talking about AI. We cannot fight it. We cannot fight against it. But however, we can be responsible. Mm-hmm. We can be responsible with the way that we use it. For you, for me, for all those other kids that are also practicing and producing.
Thank you, Jane. I'm going to let her cook some more. Remember a few years ago, some of you remember this on this channel, when I said, anytime you guys ask me, should we have a union for artists and music producers? I said, what type of artists and music producers? What type of engineers? What type of music union should we have? It was the producer union first. And I said, do you realize that industry producers will never have the same issues that you have as an independent producer from your bedroom? So the things that they value are going to make sure that their mortgage is paid inside they hella acre mansion and pays for their cars. And the things that they're looking for are very different in terms of their issues, are very different with the industry than you may have as a beat maker. So why would they unionize with us and create something that's fair, not just for them, but for us as well? They don't even know what we value. Look at the way that someone who's been in the game for 30 years is talking to you and I as independent artists in that commercial. You could joke around, you could troll with people you know. I don't know you, sir. We don't know you. All we know is that you moseyed your way from that industry, jumped in here into the trenches of independent artists and started selling your products. You gave Beat Club. You did a thing with a car. You've been hovering around this space, and people who had the utmost respect trusted you. And all I keep seeing is reasons to back away and say, it's on you if you want to trust that. I don't. I'm good. This ain't good, man. This ain't Continue, Jane.
Or writing, or playing that bass, or whatever it is. I'm asking for clarity. I'm asking for transparency. I'm asking that us as creatives, we should be the first in line to advocate for one another.
That part.
And not be fighting against each other, because kind of we are right now. Oh, this is where you do this. This is how we can do this. Why can't we get together and figure out a way to do this together?
Because the niggas trying to get to the bag. They ain't trying to unionize.
Somebody gonna have to
Niggas trying to get to the bag. Niggas trying to get to the bag. Niggas trying to get to the... One for all, none for all, and one for me. I mean, all for me and none for all. Yeah, hear ye, hear ye.
You know, I'm just saying, like, I know we are all in this dogfight because everyone feels like they're competing against each other because there's no money. There's no money in streaming. So then we're taught, let's go somewhere else. Let's go do this. Let's go figure this out. Let's go to Patreon. Let's go to... Why don't we band together? Tim, you are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You are so powerful. You have a voice. You have a platform. Why can't we band together to make things fair? And in terms of AI and Suno, I know you said that you cannot prompt an artist. I went into Suno. I sat with you. And you taught me how to use Suno. And I went and I got off the FaceTime with you, and I was able to prompt it to sound like Chris Brown. I was able to prompt it. And if you, I know you were saying, show me, I will show you how to do it. So if all these artists are giving up their intellectual property for free,
your IP,
and people are monetizing and claiming it to be theirs, where is the integrity in music going to go?
You said a whole word.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So you mean to tell me, aside from all the beautiful features that come along with this new embracing of AI, we go from selling physicals, right, and kind of having that process gatekeeping be very, very expensive at that point in time. We go from now being able to burn them at home to having to readjust because of piracy into music streaming. And then we go from selling these CDs for 10 a pop, which you don't need to sell a whole lot to get the kind of money you need for 1 million streams. We go from there to streaming, and the whole argument of streaming becomes, look, check it out. You can only make one purchase off that CD, but with this song, you can get an infinite amount of money off of this. Yeah, it's a fraction of a penny and it may take longer, but this system is better. Watch, you'll make more money. They highlight a few outliers in that situation, and they say it as if it's a generalized statement for everybody that people are making more money than they ever made. Well, we see how much that was a lie, because now you have independent artists and entities fighting for a living wage for musicians to get us to a penny, which would mean for 1 million streams, you get $14,000. That sounds amazing. But it's so ironic that it happens at the same time that they're now trying to push artists to willingly upload their likeness, their music, their voice, before these things are even regulated. I can't even get a damn LLC before I follow the right instructions, before all of this is regulated. Go ahead and let them do that. Matter of fact, they were able to get away with, they being Suno was able to get away with it without any kind of slap on the hand. They're in court, they figuring it out, but they're also negotiating deals with Universal now, allegedly. They were able to go use master recordings, which they did not own, unlicensed master recordings, to build an entire business off of and charge people for different services. So you could still, just like that. And now I'm supposed to believe that the best is yet to come? No, this feels like, how do we capitalize upon independent artists that we no longer want to sign, that we no longer want to deal with? How do we get 1 million of those, an infinite amount of those, and never have to deal with them? That's what this feels like.
That's a good point.
And if we just sit here and let it happen, then we are a part of the problem. You cannot fight against AI, I get it, but we can fight to make it fair.
That's true. I agree with you on that.
What we value.
Yeah. Shout out to Jane. Here's another clip that she actually had on her page. I didn't catch this part of the stream, but I think there's another clip that we need to go ahead and react to. One more time, JaneLee.music. I think she calls herself the Indie Mama. I'm gonna definitely reach out because there's a lot of things that she shared there that I think more independent artists should know about. Excuse me. Let me get this back over here. It's dope to know that in this time period, we do have people who are willing to put on the line their relationships. They're not worried about coddling legends and agreeing with anything they say. They're willing to question it because they can be wrong like anybody else. I respect her so much for doing that. Here's what she had to say in this next part.
All of us in this room, we make a living doing music. We are privileged.
Yeah.
There are millions of people, there are thousands in the chat right now, indie artists that are just starting to try to figure things out. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. We can sit up here and say, I am not threatened by AI. Because we already make money doing it. We've already built ourselves in this industry doing this. But what about them? If it doesn't affect me, and if it doesn't affect us in this chat room right now, what about being a voice for them?
Hello.
That's all I'm saying. So you know what? Instead of saying, hey, go practice that guitar, go learn how to prompt. I don't want to be that person. And I don't want to be here saying, I already made my millions of dollars. So everybody else can figure it out.
I'm sorry. Between Illmind and between Timbaland, I don't know what Illmind had to say, but these both look like faces of people that's like, I got my bag. Sucks to be y'all, but I got mine. I don't, as much love as they may have amongst themselves, I don't feel the love in watching these videos. I don't feel the love. I feel the, damn, must suck for you. I don't see anybody making an effort, and it should be Timbaland than anybody else making the effort to show, okay, not only do I hear you, matter of fact, bring the CEO, bring his goofy ass on this live stream. Why are we talking about people that at any point in time they can cut off ties with you, Tim? Bring his goofy ass in here. He's the one that needs to get the education the worst. Saying shit like music ain't enjoyable. Bring his goofy ass up in here. Let him explain why he thought it was okay to steal music that he didn't have the license for. Because although Tim himself may be telling the absolute truth, I don't use y'all music, that is not stopping somebody who is already admitted to stealing in court to steal again.
Go prompt. Go be an excellent prompter. Music still needs to live on, and it's people like you and me that need to say, we've got to figure out a fair way to do this. That is all I'm saying. And we've got to honor the hard work, the work ethic, the creativity, the love, the soul, all of the things that create music and why we're here today.
Right.
Preach.
Do not let that disappear and regulate it or find a way to make this fair. That's all I'm saying.
You're going to take it from us getting, if you don't regulate it, if you do not slow it down. Like, my thing is this, why is there not anybody pushing for it? Not stop it. AI's around us. Slow this hoe down. Slow this hoe down before you have things happen, especially with the access of the internet. Slow this hoe down so the laws can catch up to it. Like, develop it in private, but stop giving access to the rest of the world to use it. Slow down the drops of what you're doing. Yeah, I know you're excited. Slow down. Let the laws keep up. Regulate this shit the right way. So that then when there's time to have these conversations, at least we know there's a protection in mind. If you do not want your music to be sourced by this, make sure that you encrypt it somehow into your content. Make sure that you have some kind of digital footprint that follows and lets people know. But let that shit develop in private. And stop sourcing shit you ain't got no permission to. Especially when you know, when it's a tech world, they're going to look out for each other. Here's an article that popped up the other day, and this is what made me really feel like this is streaming 2.0. UMG, Sony, and Warner Music are reportedly in talks to license music to AI companies. This deal will aim to create a framework for how AI firms compensate artists for the use of their work. Additionally, the labels would also receive a small equity stake in Suno and Udio, the two leaders in AI music software. This is inevitably where it's supposed to be going. This is where it's going. This is always where it's going. This is always where it was going. Round of applause. Round of applause for even entertaining how much you care about the people. This ain't what this is. I'm telling you right now, it is all about the munyon. Imagine one day you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and instead of the regular jukebox that only plays one version of your song, it has 10 different versions. Imagine at Buffalo Wild Wings, you go on a jukebox that is an AI-based jukebox that can give you Tiger's Rack City in a country version, a bluegrass version. and it becomes novelty. And it's like, look at this. That's crazy. Let me see what I can combine that. Something that you swipe your credit card in. Of course UMG's moving into this. Insane, man. Insane. And y'all gonna wonder why so much of this content, I wouldn't call it anti-industry, but I would call it pro-independence. Let's get some more details about what the hell that means, since some of these record labels are allegedly suing Udio and Suno. It says the major music companies are reportedly in licensing talks with controversial AI music generators Udio and Suno. That's according to Bloomberg, which reported on Sunday, citing people familiar with the discussions that Universal Music Group, Warner Music Group, and Sony Music are seeking license fees from the platforms, plus a small amount of equity in both Suno and Udio. It's funny because that's the same thing that Universal wanted, was equity in Spotify. That's why they weren't able to allegedly flip a profit for so many years, because of how much those licensing deals were taxing them. I think it was 70 cents of every dollar they made to that tune by the oligarch. The report arrives just under a year after the major sued Suno and Udio for copyright infringement. Sources told Bloomberg that any deal would help settle lawsuits between the startups and the music company. So they're looking for some kind of a settlement. They just wanted the money, and they don't care about it being used for training. The news outlet noted that its sources declined to be identified because the talks could fall apart. Here we are. Let me leave you with this message and a few final thoughts before we get up out of this particular topic, because this is definitely one that you can see I'm very passionate about. For those of you out there still living, for those of you out there still creating, for those of you out there that are still working on your craft daily, for those of you that spend the time to go through your scales, who are writing the best 4 bars you can every single day just to stay fresh, for those of you that still look up literary devices to see how you can improve upon your writing, for some of you that might even be slightly embracing some of the AI stuff, I just want to say how proud I am of those and how much respect I have for the rappers and the music producers, singers, engineers that are still chasing mastery in this soulless music landscape of cheap streaming payouts and AI gimmicks. That's a lot. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot to consume, and I know there's a lot of thoughts that I saw circulating through here that are opposite of where we're coming from. What I love is that there are people speaking up against it. What I love is that the people that I disagree with so aggressively, they telling me exactly what I thought straight to my face. They don't really care about us. I'm listening to, the fact that we got a quote from Jimmy Iovine to Ray Daniels about get you something that don't talk back. That sounds like something a pimp tells a hoe. But it's okay, DIYers. Shout out to Sarah. One time for Sarah in the building. Sarah too ill. It's okay, DIYers. I don't come here with any snake oil. I don't come here with any product. I'm not leading you into any funnel. I come to you with words of encouragement. We call ourselves DIYers because we're not afraid of learning new things. We're not afraid of sitting with the process. Matter of fact, while everybody else is rushing, trying to get better, just to get a surface level understanding, if even that, we show up every day because it's what we love to do. For those who are true DIYers, we don't look at this and say, man, I just wish it didn't take so damn long to make music. We're lucky we even get to work on music. We're blessed to even be in an environment where we could even have that as a privilege. We're grateful that we have the money to pay for the tools, and it is a gift. Yes, it is, Daniela. And we address it as such. Collaboration is a gift. Being able to bounce ideas back and forth and come up with something that you know you wouldn't have done on your own, that's magic. That's why I love sharing the process in my live streams, because although it's not always sexy, it's all about that end result. And you appreciate it more knowing the hard work that went into it. And to be able to experience that every single song, every single album, every single video, whatever it is I'm working with, that is my right as a creative, and I enjoy it. I don't know where you're at with this, DIYers. I don't know if you're feeling more discouraged, but for some odd reason, I don't know. If I'm going off of a feeling, I feel highly encouraged. Even as I see artists that are embracing this and they're like, hell yeah, I don't like working on it anyways. All I can imagine is a very mediocre existence for them that I want no parts of. DIYers, we got this. Don't be afraid of embracing the technology as an assistant, but never use that as an excuse to be a replacement. And that goes not just for your music, but for the graphic designers that can suggest things even better. You know, there's a reason, even as we get into this world of prompt engineering being a job, there's a reason why your prompt that says, I want a cute elephant, generates whatever it generates, versus someone else that says, I want a purple elephant from a 33 millimeter lens that has shadows around the corners, a vignette that has film grain that's around this particular measurement. There's a reason why that person who is more specific in their prompt has a much different result, which to me makes me believe if the power is in the prompt, well, then the prompter better be a pretty damn good creative. Do not let this lull you to sleep and make you lazy. DIYers, those are my thoughts. You let me know what you think. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.